Jake, a charismatic black man with a radiant smile and perfect physique, has been a presence in the fashion world since he was very young. Possessing a healthy, natural beauty and confidence that emanates from every step, Jake quickly became a renowned model. However, despite his considerable success, Jake was not yet considered a superstar in the fashion world. He was still a familiar face on the runways, but not prominent enough to achieve global recognition like many of his colleagues. This didn't discourage Jake; on the contrary, it motivated him to strive harder each day to reach the top. To see what trouble Jake encountered, and what turning point his life took, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue this journey. Jake always believed in the value of hard work and passion. He wasn't afraid to participate in photo shoots from early morning until late at night, to continuously practice to stay in shape, and to learn from those around him. For Jake, the fashion runway was not just a place to make a living, but also a stage to express himself, to prove that regardless of background or skin color, anyone can shine if they have enough will and determination. One day, Jake traveled to a big city to participate in an important fashion show. This was a big opportunity, where many leading names in the industry gathered, and Jake decided to treat himself to a night at the most luxurious hotel in the city to prepare himself mentally. He stepped into the hotel lobby, where the sparkling crystal chandeliers and overwhelming luxury created a regal atmosphere. Jake felt like he was entering a different world, one he hoped to belong to if he continued to strive. Under the gloomy sky of a tiring Saturday afternoon, Jake entered the lobby of the luxurious hotel, pulling his small suitcase. He had just undergone a long journey, and all he wanted at that moment was a room to rest and prepare for the evening's performance. He had booked a room online earlier, so he thought everything would go smoothly. However, things didn't go as expected. When Jake approached the reception desk, the receptionist, a young man in a neat suit but with an unfriendly look, glanced at him and said in an indifferent tone, "Sorry, we are currently fully booked. You will have to wait a moment." Jake tried to remain calm, explaining that he had booked a room in advance, even providing the booking code, but the receptionist's eyes remained unchanged, showing no respect. He quickly glanced at the computer screen and shrugged, his hands casually typing a few keys on the keyboard. "There might be a slight problem. Please have a seat and wait a moment," the receptionist said, a faint smile crossing his face but not hiding his impatience. His voice was both sarcastic and lacking in necessary respect. His fingers pointed to a row of seats in the distance where Jake could wait. Jake dragged his suitcase to a corner of the lobby, sighed, and sat down. While he was waiting, he saw many other guests arrive later but were served immediately. The receptionist was cheerful and enthusiastic towards them, bowing and quickly handing over the room keys. Jake's eyes gradually darkened, but he still tried not to show his frustration. The most important thing at the moment was not to be late for the show. After an hour without any staff member coming to inquire or assist, Jake decided to walk back to the reception desk to remind them. But this time he not only encountered indifference from the staff, but also faced the uncooperative attitude of the hotel manager. The manager, with emotionless eyes, shook his head and refused to help. "We are very busy, you can come back later." Jake felt the insult spread, like a knife cutting into his self-esteem. But instead of making a fuss, he just smiled faintly, took a deep breath, and turned to pull his suitcase away. His footsteps were heavy, but his mind was ignited with a flame of determination. One day, Jake would prove his worth, so that no one would dare to look down on or underestimate him like that again. That evening, Jake's performance was a resounding success. Everything seemed to blend into the rhythm of the lights, the music, and the continuous applause from the audience. Jake, with a confident demeanor, strode powerfully and gracefully on the catwalk, attracting all eyes. After the difficulties at the hotel, being able to stand on stage and do what he loved made him feel like all the pressure had disappeared. And it was from that performance that Jake met Serena. Serena was a beautiful white girl with smiling blue eyes and radiant blonde hair. She was a young designer, attending the show hoping to find more inspiration for her upcoming collections. From the first moment Jake stepped onto the stage, Serena couldn't take her eyes off him. There was something about him, the confidence, the coldness but charm, that Serena couldn't help but be attracted to. After the show, Serena decided to stay longer to have a chance to meet Jake. As Jake stepped out from backstage, the two accidentally bumped into each other in a very unexpected way. While Jake was trying to escape the crowd of fans and photographers, he accidentally bumped into Serena, causing her small handbag to fall to the floor. The items inside the bag, notebooks, colored pencils, and even her phone, were scattered everywhere. Jake quickly bent down to help pick up her things. When he looked up, their eyes met, and in that moment, something very special passed between them. Serena saw kindness and gentleness in Jake's deep eyes that he didn't show on stage. As for Jake, he realized the girl in front of him with a natural smile and blushing cheeks was so approachable that he unexpectedly wanted to talk more. "Sorry, I didn't mean to," Jake chuckled awkwardly as he returned Serena's belongings. "I think I just ruined your bag." Serena smiled, not seeming angry at all. Instead, she teased, "It's okay. Just make it up to me with an interesting conversation." And their conversation ended quickly due to their busy schedules. But there was a thread of fate connecting them, so they had many other chance encounters. Under the lights of the dazzling fashion shows, Jake and Serena met more often. Each time, they talked a little more, understood each other's passions better. Jake couldn't deny that Serena was the one who brought him peace and an incredible sense of harmony. Serena, with her enthusiastic heart and the sensitivity of a young designer, always knew how to make Jake feel understood and encouraged. Their initial encounter seemed accidental, but gradually Serena always appeared wherever Jake performed. Even when Jake had photo shoots or events at the studio, Serena would coincidentally be there as the designer in charge of costumes. Both gradually realized that meeting each other was no longer just a coincidence, but it had become something both looked forward to. Serena always listened and cared for Jake sincerely, while Jake was captivated by her kindness, eagerness to learn, and natural beauty. Their dates took place in silence without fanfare. Jake enjoyed long walks along the riverbank with Serena, where they could comfortably talk about life, about future plans without fear of prying eyes. Their love grew through such simple moments, not needing to be noisy but always deep and full of sincerity. Serena understood that Jake had gone through a lot of difficulties to achieve his position, and that made her appreciate him even more. She knew Jake not only needed support, but also a true friend, someone willing to stand behind the scenes helping him overcome the troubles of the harsh fashion industry. And Serena was always that person, always there when Jake needed her, always supporting him from the smallest details, like choosing outfits, to advice on relationships in the entertainment world. Meanwhile, Jake was completely unaware of Serena's true identity, that she was the daughter of the hotel owner who had mistreated him before. Serena kept this a secret because she didn't want that past to affect the feelings they were having. She was afraid that Jake would feel hurt, would remember the bad things that had happened to him before. Therefore, during their 4 years of love, they secretly dated and hid everything from the media. During that time, Jake gradually became more famous thanks to his personality-filled and enthusiastic performances. Not just a model, Jake also began to create and participate more deeply in brainstorming for collections, from choosing themes to arranging and presenting outfits. Serena's constant support and encouragement helped Jake confidently express himself and overcome all difficulties. Whether it was during late-night rehearsals or stressful events, Serena was always there, silently helping Jake with everything. Jake loved Serena not only for her external beauty but also for the sensitivity and understanding she gave him. In every performance, every spotlight shining down on the stage, Jake knew that behind the scenes, Serena was watching and supporting him. Their love was like a warm fire in the cold winter, bringing comfort and strength to both of them to overcome life's challenges together. But Jake still didn't know that the fire was being fueled by a secret that one day might shake everything. Everything good continued to happen. In the dim light of the backstage, Jake was preparing for his important performance. The stage lights were ready, the audience eagerly awaited. But Jake didn't expect that in the darkness of this glamorous fashion industry, there were also those willing to trample others to achieve their goals. With just a few minutes left before Jake's turn to step onto the stage, he suddenly discovered that his outfit had been damaged. A long seam was torn on the blazer, a clear sign of deliberate sabotage. Jake felt anger and disappointment welling up. He had prepared very carefully for this show, even staying up many nights to work with Serena to perfect every detail. He knew this incident was not accidental, and it made him lose faith in the environment he was dedicating himself to. The rumors from colleagues about him, the suspicious glances doubting that he only achieved success thanks to his looks and relationship with Serena, now echoed in his mind, making him even more desperate. In that moment, Serena stepped forward, like a gentle breeze soothing the storm in Jake's heart. She looked into his angry eyes, didn't say much, just gently placed her hand on his shoulder and said, "Jake, you've been through more difficult things than this. This is just a small challenge. I believe in your talent, and I know you can overcome it." Jake sighed, taking Serena's hand. "But you don't understand, Serena. They always look down on me. They think I'm just a good-looking but empty-headed guy. And now look. I don't even have a decent outfit to step onto the stage." Serena smiled slightly, her eyes firm. "I understand better than anyone, Jake. And I know that you are not just about looks. You have worked very hard, and it is because of that effort that you are in this position. You don't need to prove anything to those who don't understand you. Prove it to yourself and to those who truly love you." Jake looked into Serena's eyes, feeling the sincerity and deep love in them. That helped him calm down. He remembered all the sleepless nights he spent practicing, remembering every time Serena was by his side to encourage and help him overcome difficulties. Serena's words were like a guiding light, helping him through the night of doubt and loss. Jake nodded, regaining his spirit. "You're right. I won't let anyone or anything stop me." Serena smiled and quickly helped Jake repair the outfit as much as possible. She even took her own jacket, a design she was experimenting with, to combine with the rest of Jake's outfit. It wasn't as perfect as the original, but at least it was enough for him to step onto the stage. When Jake's name was called, he walked onto the catwalk with regained confidence. He knew his outfit wasn't perfect, but more important was his spirit, determination, and the spirit of not giving up. Jake walked powerfully, each of his strides clearly showing confidence and enthusiasm. And when he stood before the dazzling lights, he didn't see the scrutinizing eyes or the rumors, but only Serena's face, who was standing behind the scenes, cheering and encouraging him. The performance ended successfully and Jake received enthusiastic applause from the audience. Those who had doubted him now could not deny Jake's shine on stage. He did not let his efforts and Serena's love go to waste. He overcame all difficulties to assert himself, to prove that he was not just about appearances. When Jake stepped off the stage, he saw Serena waiting for him, a radiant smile on her lips. She didn't need to say anything more, but her proud eyes said it all. Jake knew that not only did Serena believe in him, but now he also believed in himself more. And thanks to her love, he knew that he would go further, overcome many other challenges, and never give up on his dream. That day, Serena was eager to introduce Jake to her family at her parents' hotel. She had told them a lot about Jake, about how he was a talented model and knew how to overcome all difficulties, and she hoped that Jake would be accepted by her family. Serena didn't know that for Jake, this was not just an ordinary family meeting, but also a moment when he had to face his own shameful past. Jake entered the hotel lobby with a heavy heart. He tried to stay calm but couldn't deny that the bad memories came flooding back. He remembered the time he was treated unfairly just because of his skin color and social status. The contemptuous glances of the receptionist, the coldness of the manager when he begged for help, all like deep cuts in his heart. But Jake told himself that he was not here to take revenge or complain, but to protect his love for Serena. He wanted to show her family that he was worthy of their daughter's love. When Jake stepped into the luxurious living room, he immediately felt the tense atmosphere. Serena's mother, Mrs. Evelyn, was a powerful woman with sharp eyes and a dignified demeanor. She sat on the large armchair, her eyes observing Jake from head to toe. Jake could feel the scrutiny in that gaze, a not-so-favorable assessment. Serena smiled brightly, introducing Jake to her family. "This is Jake, the one I've told you so much about." Mrs. Evelyn nodded slightly, her lips curling into a not-so-warm smile. She spoke as soon as Jake sat down, her voice sharp. "So, Jake, I hear you're a model. This profession is probably not very stable, is it? Do you have any plans for the future? Especially if you want to take care of my daughter." Jake took a deep breath, trying not to show his awkwardness. He knew this question would come, and he was prepared for it. "Yes, it's true that modeling has its own challenges, but I'm also working hard to expand my influence and seek more business opportunities in the fashion industry. I believe that with my efforts and dedication, I can build a solid foundation for the future of both of us." Mrs. Evelyn frowned, not seeming satisfied with Jake's answer. She continued, her voice cold, "The fashion industry, I'm not sure if that's a sustainable path. Have you thought about doing something more stable? Like being a manager, or opening a shop or something? My daughter deserves a fulfilling and stable life, you know." Jake could feel the pressure in every question from Miss Evelyn. He looked over at Serena, saw her holding his hand tightly, her eyes looking at him with support. That helped Jake regain his spirit. He smiled at Mrs. Evelyn, his voice deep but firm. "Mom, I understand that your concerns are completely reasonable. I love Serena and will always do everything I can to make her happy and safe. My job may not be like traditional jobs, but it is my passion, and I believe that with love and constant effort I can bring the best things to Serena." Serena couldn't hide the proud smile on her lips. She squeezed Jake's hand as if to say that she always believed in him. But Mrs. Evelyn was still not completely convinced. She looked at Serena and then back at Jake, her voice deepening as if to convey a deep message. "I hope you understand that life is not just about love and passion. Life needs more than that, and I hope you will be ready to face those responsibilities." Jake nodded, his eyes full of determination. "I understand, Mom. I know that I will face many challenges, but I believe that as long as I have Serena by my side, I will not be afraid of any difficulties, and I will constantly strive to prove that I am worthy of her love." The conversation was still tense, but Jake felt the firmness from Serena. That gave him the confidence to face any challenge her family posed. Although Mrs. Evelyn still hadn't fully accepted him, Jake knew that if he continued to strive and love Serena with all his heart, one day he would prove to everyone that he was worthy. And he was willing to do anything to protect his love for Serena, whether facing the past or the doubts of those who didn't believe. Late one evening, Jake sat alone in the hotel living room, waiting for Serena to return from an important meeting. He didn't expect Miss Evelyn to walk in, her eyes stern and cold. She went straight to Jake without greeting and bluntly demanded, "Jake, I want you to break up with Serena. I don't think you are the right person for her. And I don't want my daughter to suffer because of a love without a future." Jake felt hurt and insulted by those words, but he remained calm. He stood up, looked straight into Miss Evelyn's eyes, and said softly, "Ma'am, I understand your concerns, and I don't blame you for having that thought. But I love Serena with all my heart, and I will not give up on her just because of difficulties. I will prove to you, not with words, but with my actions." Mrs. Evelyn looked at Jake with displeasure, then walked away without another word. Jake knew this was one of the biggest challenges he had to face. He didn't want Serena to be caught between love and family, so he decided to act in a way that could convince Mrs. Evelyn to gradually change her mind about him. Jake started to learn more about Serena's family. He knew Mrs. Evelyn valued family very much, and so he tried to find ways to get closer to them. One day when Serena was away on a business trip, Jake heard that Mr. Harold, Serena's father, was sick and needed care. He didn't hesitate, immediately going to the hotel to visit him. Jake brought a bouquet of flowers and some fruit, and he spent a lot of time with Mr. Harold, listening to his stories and helping with small tasks. Mr. Harold was initially quite surprised to see Jake, but gradually he felt the sincere concern from this young man. Jake helped him take his medicine, prepared a snack, and didn't forget to tell him funny stories from behind the scenes of the runway. Mr. Harold couldn't deny that Jake was a kind man, willing to sacrifice his time and effort for Serena's family. Not only that, Jake also tried to build relationships with others in the family. He proactively helped Mrs. Evelyn with small daily tasks, such as carrying heavy items, taking care of her small garden. Once, when Mrs. Evelyn had trouble with a hotel order, Jake didn't hesitate to offer help, using his connections to solve the problem quickly. Mrs. Evelyn began to see the sincerity in Jake's actions. Although she didn't say it, her eyes softened. One day, Serena returned from her business trip and noticed the change in her mother's attitude. She saw that Mrs. Evelyn no longer seemed so harsh with Jake, and even invited him to stay for dinner with the family. This surprised Serena but also made her happy. She understood that Jake had tried very hard to build trust with her mother, and that made her love him even more. Not long after, Serena decided to have a frank conversation with her mother. She looked straight into Mrs. Evelyn's eyes, her voice full of determination. "Mom, I know you always want the best for me, and I understand that you are worried when I love Jake. But Jake is the one I truly love, and I know he loves me the same way. He is not only good to me, but also to our family. I can't imagine my life without Jake. I hope you understand and support our love." Mrs. Evelyn sat silently for a moment. Then she looked into her daughter's eyes. Her gaze softened, and there was no longer the harshness and severity as before. She sighed and said, "Serena, I just want you to have a good life and not suffer. But I see the determination and love that you and Jake have for each other. I also see that Jake has tried very hard to become a part of our family. If you truly love Jake and believe in your love, I will not stand in the way of you two anymore." Serena smiled, tears streaming down her face with emotion. She hugged her mother tightly, her heart filled with gratitude. Jake stood nearby, hearing these words with a sense of relief, knowing that all his efforts had been recognized. His and Serena's love finally overcame all challenges and was accepted by her family. And Jake knew that he would always continue to love Serena, not just for her but also for her family, the family that had now become an integral part of his life. Time passed, and Jake continued to strive and develop his talent. With determination and constant encouragement from Serena, he gradually asserted his name in the fashion world. Not only a famous model, Jake also became a symbol of effort, rising above difficulties and asserting himself. He became one of the most beloved models, invited to major shows, and always brought personality and emotion in every appearance. Serena's family gradually changed their view of Jake. They witnessed him not only loving Serena but also treating her family with all sincerity and respect. Mrs. Evelyn, who was once harsh and unaccepting of Jake, now had affection for him, and she understood that Jake's love for her daughter was the most sincere. Serena also continued to protect their love, and that made her family feel more secure. Finally, their love was rewarded with approval from the family. The wedding day of Jake and Serena arrived. It was a beautiful sunny morning, with a clear blue sky and an atmosphere filled with joy. The ceremony was held at the very hotel where Jake was once rejected and treated unfairly. But this time he did not enter as a despised customer, but as an official member of the owning family, the groom of the grand ceremony. The grand hall of the hotel was splendidly decorated with fresh flowers, sparkling lights, and soft music. Serena wore a pure white wedding dress, shining like a princess, and Jake, in a neat suit, looked extremely elegant. They stood side by side, hand in hand, with eyes full of love and faith in the future. Surrounding them were family and friends, those who had witnessed their love from the beginning to its blossoming, all blessing them. Mrs. Evelyn, though her eyes were still a bit emotional, stood up to speak at the ceremony. She looked at Jake and Serena, her voice gentle. "Today I see my daughter happy, and I know that accepting Jake was the best decision I ever made. Jake, from now on you are a part of our family. Take care of Serena and together build a happy future." Jake smiled, his heart filled with happiness. He bowed his head to thank Mrs. Evelyn and felt that all his efforts had been rewarded. There were no more contemptuous glances or discrimination, only love and unity remained. After the wedding, Serena's family decided to entrust Jake with the management of the hotel, the place that was once a symbol of discrimination and coldness. Jake understood that this was not only an opportunity but also a great responsibility for him. He didn't want anyone to have to go through the painful emotions he once did, so he decided to change all the hotel's rules and regulations. Jake, along with Serena and his wife's family, began the hotel reform. Jake changed the management style, building a working environment where all employees were respected and valued. He trained the staff on service attitude, emphasizing that all customers, no matter who they were, must be treated fairly and politely. New rules were applied, creating a positive and professional working atmosphere where respect and fairness were paramount. Moreover, Jake also organized meetings and conversations with employees, listening to their opinions and wishes to improve the service. He wanted to create a place where everyone could be proud of their work, where customers felt truly welcomed and cared for. These changes quickly brought results. The hotel attracted more and more customers, not only because of its luxury but also because of the sincerity and dedicated service from the staff. Praise began to spread, and the hotel became a symbol of change, of a place where everyone felt respected and loved. Jake knew he couldn't change the past, but he could create a better future, not just for him and Serena, but for everyone around him. And that's what he did, step by step, with all his love and determination. Beside him was always Serena, his life partner, accompanying him through all difficulties and successes, and now they were building a happy and meaningful life together, with love and respect as the foundation. Under Jake's management, the hotel was no longer just a luxurious resort. but had become a symbol of change and perseverance in the fight against discrimination and injustice. Jake understood the value of creating an environment where everyone was respected and treated equally. He not only looked at the business aspect but also put his heart into changing the hotel's culture to make it a common home, a place where everyone was welcome, regardless of skin color, religion, or social status. Jake expanded many charity programs helping poor children and people in difficult circumstances. He remembered the time he had to endure discrimination just because of his skin color and background. That made Jake even more determined to act, help the less fortunate, and create new opportunities for them. He launched educational support programs from awarding scholarships to providing learning and practice opportunities for disadvantaged children in society. Jake believed that only education and opportunity could help them escape the constraints of fate and rise up. In particular, Jake also established a scholarship fund for young talents from minority groups. This was the Hope for Future Scholarship Fund, with the goal of bringing development opportunities to young people with talent in fashion and art, but who did not have enough conditions to pursue their passion. He wanted young people in difficult circumstances, regardless of ethnicity or background, to have the opportunity to shine and assert themselves, just as he had done. Under Jake's management, the hotel quickly became a positive, developing place with an impact on society. The hotel was now not only a place to relax but also a symbol of inclusion and equality. Jake implemented special services for people with disabilities, creating spaces that were friendly to all customer groups, from children to the elderly. He also held seminars and events on the topic of equality and ending discrimination, inviting experts and those with experience to share their stories. Not only that, Jake also organized meetings between staff and customers to share personal stories in order to build empathy and understanding for each other. It was these sharing sessions that created a connected community where no one was left behind. The hotel staff were also trained not only in professional skills but also in service spirit, ensuring that all customers felt welcomed and respected, no matter who they were. Serena was always by Jake's side, accompanying and supporting him in all activities. Their love was not just romance between two people, but also became the motivation for them to do meaningful things for society together. Serena used her knowledge and creativity to help Jake in the hotel's media campaigns, highlighting the humanistic values they were pursuing. She also contributed to the scholarship fund, creating fashion and art support programs specifically for disadvantaged children. As the days passed, Jake and Serena's hotel was not only known as a luxurious resort, but also as a place full of compassion and positive change. Customers came not only to relax but also to experience the warmth, fairness, and respect from the staff. Stories about Jake, from someone who was once discriminated against, now becoming a leader bringing change, were widely spread and inspired many others. Jake and Serena's love overcame prejudices and challenges, and now it was not just the story of two people, but also a testament to how true love and determination can change everything. They turned the hotel, once a symbol of discrimination, into a symbol of unity, compassion, and change for the better. Jake proved that, with determination and sincere love, people can overcome all barriers, change all prejudices, and bring good things to society. He not only changed his own life, but also the lives of many others. And together with Serena, they built an inspiring love story, where love and determination turned the seemingly impossible into reality.